target number for children in care. Some authorities operate a one in, one out basis. Alright, now one in, one out. Where's the threshold in that? The threshold is a management threshold. It's basically we have a target number of children in care. Now, for entirely laudable reasons, Ofsted are criticising Birmingham for having a high number of looked after children and children with child protection plans. But because the theory of it is if you provide the right support, you wouldn't have so many children like that. The simple solution to hitting Ofsted's targets is not to put children into care or not to provide them with a child protection plan. And the problem is, although there is a laudable objective, the mechanism for controlling the system causes the wrong decisions. And in Baby P's case, Lynn Featherstone, one of our colleagues, knows there is a smoking gun memorandum which said stop taking children into care in about December 2006. And all the figures are there. I can give anyone electronic copies of the council's reports showing how they've got a financial crisis because of the number of children in care. And it is the like 50 grand plus a year it takes to keep a child into care that is the main financial driver rather than court fees or legal fees, although the fees of about 25 grand or so, including lawyers' fees, do cause a concern, and experts' fees. It's actually the foster care costs and things like that that drive this. So here we have a government organisation, Ofsted, driven by the Department of Children, Schools and Families to force practitioners to make the wrong decision. In a sense, I could stop there, but I'm going to go on. And I'm not going to be popular in what I say. All right, so all the strings, like I could do 3 hours on this. It's worth it. All the strings lead back to the local authority. I need to stop very soon. All right, the family court normally acts as a verbose and expensive rubber stamp for proposals of the local authority. Here we have all the stats for what happens on public family law orders. Here we have criminal prosecutions and innocence guilt. Note in Japan they brought in a jury recently because they used to have criminal figures the same as we have on the care side of things. And there's lots of other stuff, but I can't talk anymore. Is that right?
I didn't stop you because I wasn't. I think what you have to say is actually very important. I think the answer, in many ways, the answer to issues of funding is when one needs to have evidence and research to show why things need funding. And there's very little evidence. I don't know any outcome study of judges' decisions, for example. Are they making the right decision or not? I mean, my experience of certainly the High Court, the very wise judges, enormous experience. And
right information.
But I'm not sure if they're making the right decision.
They can't make the right decision without the right information.
Yes. It's also very difficult to get that information. We at the Council have been doing research into outcomes of these families. And we do have, we're beginning to finally get some data. But it's very difficult. It takes hours and hours and hours of time. You can't get information from departments very often, or from individual social workers who may have left and overcame. It is actually very time consuming. It requires vast resources to be able to do this kind of research. But we need to have the information if you actually want to convince people that things need funding. Now, are there any points that people want to raise before I ask you? Yeah.
So my name is James Carter, and I'm a solicitor, and I am on behalf of a man who was known as prisoner X, who was a stepfather for a child who was in care. It was a case that was opened up, fortunately, by the Times, and was reported in the family law reports, Medway Cassell, and others, and Sir Mark Potter heard that during the last year. Now, the point that I would wish to raise and reiterate what John Higgins has just said, one of the problems that has arisen in public family law over the last few years is this issue of adoption. And the unintentional villain of the piece is in fact the former Prime Minister, Tony Blair. The problem goes back to a document produced called the Prime Minister's Review of Adoption, and it was issued in July 2000. And the Prime Minister wrote the foreword to that document. And what he said is it's hard to overstate the importance of a stable and loving family life for children. That is why I want more children to benefit from adoption. And then goes on to say how children remain in care too long. And that has been taken up by social workers who wanted targets on adoption of children and want to place children who are inappropriate for adoption, and John mentioned children. In this particular case, this child was being proposed for adoption when he was very nearly 8 years old, in circumstances where he very definitely wanted to live with his mother, and in circumstances where the mother has not done very much wrong. Now that case still remains. This remains a family visiting crisis, because quite amazingly, or amazingly as far as I'm concerned, and I am the stepfather, I'm not a party to the proceedings, I am allowed, my counsel can sit in on the proceedings. Those proceedings are just adjourned generally. We've got a situation where the mother is still missing, probably in France. This is allowed to go on over 18 months. There's another child involved, because my client is a father and the child is now 16 months old. And he's never even seen that child. And yet the courts just adjourn it generally. They don't want to listen to parents. They only want to listen to experts. And in these cases, the whole system is based on the local authorities acting with probity. And in this particular case, the local authority has not acted with probity over many issues, the most glaring of which... Sorry, you've got this time.
I think we have to get on.
Yes, that just raises these, but the most glaring of which is the issue of the child having been subject to a full care order with rehabilitation to the mother only a fortnight afterwards. They looked after care review, they don't invite the parents to it, they have the adoption team to it, and the local authority won't even produce to me their statistics on adoption, saying it'd be too expensive to produce it. They don't want these statistics to be compared with the classes between local authorities. So there's no probity there. There's also the issue of probity in relation to...
Can I help on that, actually? Because I asked a written parliamentary question about PFC, and we find that the figures are actually in parliamentary answers for adoptions. The big mistake in defining the measurement of BB 163, which is where the problem lies, and the fact that the funding was given for hitting these targets, is that they compared the number of children that had been in care at 6 months, or 6 months after 31st of March, to the number adopted in any 1 year. Now, that included all the Section 20 kids. That's about a third of the kids in care, who should not have been included in the calculation. So I think the Kent figure is about 11.5%, but don't hold me to it. And that 11.5% is of the total number of children in care, including all the Section 20 kids. And because a child remains in care often for 3 years, even if they're being adopted, it gives rise to those flow figures. The figures you've seen earlier, you must get a copy of the presentation. I can email it to anyone who asks me for it. The figures I've looked at are children into care and out of care and what happens to them, not the total number in care and what proportion are adopted, which is a stupid calculation to do. And what it superficially, it doesn't seem very high at 11.5%, but in fact it's massively high of those children that can be adopted. And when you can see it in the figures, they're there, they're government figures. It's just that I got the statisticians to do more work than they would normally do, and that's why I'm banned from talking to them.
Thanks for that. I think I need to move on now, and our final speaker, we're obviously going to the complicated bit. A great pleasure in introducing Susan Kramer, who is the MP for Richmond, the Cassell's MP, who's a particular interest in this whole field. And I have to say she's been enormously helpful to us, and I'm really very impressed by the commitment that she shows to this field. I think she's got engaged as a result of hearing about the kind of work